Hey, community, how are you? Good afternoon to everybody. Oh, that's not true. On the West Coast, it's still 11 in the morning, so good afternoon to the East Coast. You're moving right along through your day. Ooh, I'm hopping on a little bit later because as you can see, oh my God, my allergies are driving me crazy this morning. I did my 4 mile walk up the hill, and all the beautiful fragrances of the universe were just exploding everywhere I went. But I just love the beauty that's unfolding in this thing called spring. So, as I was sitting today, and I suspect that many of you may feel like you're getting blow after blow after blow, I wanted to ask you about a particular muscle that you may want to consider activating if you haven't already. Can you hear the birds? Isn't it so beautiful? The birds, the flower, everything. In spite of what else is going on in the world, the universe is still unfolding. So, I know that you've gone through difficult times before in your life, right? Can I get a yes, yes? Can you interact with me below? Yes. I'm sure you've had times where life just, in your mind, threw you a curveball. And that's probably what you're thinking now. That you didn't get any notice, you didn't get any warning. Feel good, it's not fair, it's not okay. So those are the things that can let you know where and when you may need to use this muscle. And yet, in each one of those situations and circumstances, you've been able to pull yourself up and through those circumstances and move forward with your life. Now, I suspect if you're like me, you're probably more graceful in some of those areas than in other areas. Some of those times when I had to pull myself up, I was quite pissed off, angry, felt like I had been mistreated. And yet, even in the midst of that, I was able to do it. So I want to ask you, have you been exercising your resilience muscle? Your resilience, your ability to recover, your ability to bounce back. Because that's what we need right now. You need your bounce back muscles. That's the muscle you want to begin to strengthen and use on a regular basis. Because I suspect what you may be feeling is you're trying to get to a new normal. And so you're like, okay, the new normal is we're on lockdown. The new normal is we social distance. The new normal is when we go to the grocery stores, we have to have on our mask and we have to have on our gloves. The new normal is you can only get so much of items, so many items. I went to the store yesterday to get some of the cold medicine that my son, Airborne, the candies, the gummies that my son likes. And I got 3 just because I want to have that flavor because he doesn't eat the other flavors. So if they run out of the berry, he doesn't have it. And when I got to the front counter at CVS, he said, I'm sorry, you can only take 2. I'm like, okay, well, fine. But those kind of scenarios where you're planning something, you're thinking something's going to be a certain way, and you find out it's completely different than you thought. And you find yourself being knocked down, knocked over, just in some instances, maybe even laid down flat. Have you had circumstances where you felt like you were just laid down flat, that you couldn't move? It was so hurtful, so devastating, or so disappointing to you. And so now we have this lockdown, and they have limitations, like I was saying about my son's medicine and things like that. So we start living like that. And we've been living like that now for easily a month. April, at least we started on March 17th, and now we're on April 23rd. So we're like, okay, so this is our new normal. We're constantly wanting to get to a new normal because we think if we get to a new normal, everything's going to calm down. And whatever sense of anxiety that you might have about what's going to come next, you'll have some ease with that. But what you want to prepare yourself for is the continuous unfolding, the continuous movement, the continuous rolling, if you will, of events and of activities out there that you don't have necessarily any control over them happening, but you do have control over how you, one, respond to them. So in those situations where you think you've reached some place and then you're like, oh God, you're knocked back again because now I got to shift and do this. Where is your resilience muscle? Where is your ability to recover, to regroup, to just shift yourself, to pivot, to reset? Because that's what's called for. Can you pivot? Can you reset? It's like, somebody's throwing something at you, just keep dodging it and they can't hit you and you just keep dodging. It's like, you can't get me, no matter what, I'm going to do this. That's what it calls for. Recalls. That's what it calls for. Is your bounce back muscle. You're being able to reset. You're being able to pivot. If it comes from the other way, you can pivot this way. But at no point are you feeling like, oh my God, there's nothing I can do. I don't know what's going to happen. Look, let me tell you about you right quick. You've been through some tough times. If you've been on this planet, there's not a one of us that hasn't been through, come through, walked through, under, over, or around some situation. And we made it to the other side. Now that muscle that you use, you might not have thought about it. You may have done like I do, because it's just me, it's just me, period. And so in my mind of operating, I'm like, okay, you're gonna have to make this happen. Me, God, life, and the universe, because I don't do anything by myself. You're gonna have to make this happen. So you don't have time to be laying down too long. Now I'll give myself, go ahead, lay down, cry, pray, meditate, whatever you have to do. But at some point, you got to get up. You have bounce back. You get to reset, or you get to pivot. But you're not going to just stand there like a deer in headlights looking at the situation saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. How does that serve you? So tell me, how well have you been exercising and strengthening your bounce back muscle, your resilience, your ability to recover? And what are the action steps that you take to recover? Now, I hadn't really thought about that before I got on here, but let me think of something right quick that might be able to help you along the way. When I need to recover, one of the first things I'm doing is looking at, okay, what's the reality of the situation? Not the reality of my response. Not even the reality of my thinking, because my thinking could be off. I'm always asking myself to consider what makes me think something isn't the way it's supposed to be. What makes me think it's not supposed to be the way it is versus the way I think it should be. So I'm always asking that question. So it's a matter of, okay, what is it that's really going on? What has laid me down flat, supposedly, or knocked me off my center? What is that? Okay, so once you get clear on, okay, well, what knocked me off my center is this virus that they're talking about, and I'm not going to work, and I don't have all the resources I used to have. Okay, or the biggest thing so many of us are dealing with. Our kids are at home, and they're in the living room doing their homework, and they're sitting there all day long, doing that work, and we're used to them being gone. Or that's difficult in your marriage. You're home. He or she's home. You're having to work things out differently than before where you had a lot of distance. Now you may find yourself bumping up against each other. You're in frustration, disappointment. It's like, oh my God, how did we get here? What happened? And you have to be able to bounce back. But here's the thing. When I'm thinking of bouncing back, I'm thinking of laying flat and standing up. I'm thinking of having your head in the sand and looking out and saying, okay, I got to do this. I'm thinking of those days where you pull the covers and the pillows all over you and you just want to stay there because you don't want to deal with it. I'm talking about coming from under that. And they're getting real clear on several things. First of all, what was it that caught you so off guard? What was it? Second of all, what can you do in this moment to shift it for yourself? I can remember a time in life I was so hurt around something that happened around my son. It literally laid me on the floor. I was on the floor just crying and crying and crying. And I think one night I just slept there, and the next day I just started crying again. And I received a phone call from someone who just kind of knew my rhythm and just knew something was off. And I remember she said to me, get up off the floor. Get up. She's like, if anything, talk about what you're going through. Share it with other people so they can also give you support, but learn for themselves. But get up. So what's your get up muscle? What's your recovery muscle? Do you have that friend? Do you have that partner? Do you have that ride or die who can say to you, get up? You have this muscle. Now, you may not use it that much, or you may use it unconsciously. Because we couldn't have survived this long if we didn't at some point know how to have a resilience and have a backup muscle or get back up muscle on this planet in America. So you've had it. You've used it. You just used it unconsciously. Maybe you just felt a lot of pressure, and you just did what you needed to do. I suspect that's what some of you say. But what I want you to do is go back and look at those situations. Maybe it was a divorce. Maybe it was an illness. Maybe it was a financial situation that you found yourself just weighted down. But some kind of way, hi cat, is it cat or Kate? Some kind of way You found a way to get yourself back up again and stay in the game. And that's what's required because, now that the lockdown has been going on for whatever, we think we're living one way. It's like, okay, cool, we got it, we understand. We get to the stores, we would do what we need to do. Then we get hit with, now you got to do something else. You're like, well, dang, I just got used to this normal. Okay, so now the normal is, well, we may open up. So everybody's like, open up? How are we going to open up? We haven't even gotten all the testing. We haven't even begun to let California hit its peak, but there's a new one. So there's constantly these situations that may come in life where you feel like you're getting knocked off your center. The question is, how do you get back to your center? How do you get back to your center? For me, you notice most of my interactions with you have been in nature. I'm outside, I'm walking, I'm hiking, I'm huffing and puffing because I'm going up a hill, but I'm in nature because nature to me is something that that man hasn't touched and God has. So that lets me know when I see even a little bee or a little ladybug, if they can do it, I can do it. And if I can keep walking up this doggone hill step by step, just put one foot in front of the other. You don't necessarily have to have the answer. You may not even know a whole lot except for, I want to go in this direction. I want my life to feel this way. I want my heart to feel this way. That may be all you know, but the determination and the courage to keep putting one foot in front of the other is what helps you move into resilience. You've been here before. You've walked this journey before. What were the tools that you acquired the last time you got knocked down? What were the tools that you learned that you had within you? Your faith, right? You had to finally stop being in fear and scaring yourself with all those scary stories, right? You had to have some faith in something bigger than you, bigger than man, bigger than the situation you're in, bigger than your mom's, your dad's, corporations, bigger than health, bigger than it all. You had to turn to that, right? You had to lean on that, right? Yes, yes. And then what did you have to do? You had to think something different, right? You couldn't keep thinking the same thoughts because those same thoughts were going to keep you in the same situation. Laid out. You're in the goal now you're on the path now of recovery. So then you had to start thinking different thoughts, right? Either I can do this, or I can call this person, maybe they can help me figure it out, or I remember I used to do this. So between your faith and you're wanting to do something different, it'll be interesting for you to realize how things kind of pop up. And people may call you and say, hey, do you need this? Or you run into this person and they have an answer for you. Or you pick up a simple book and you read it and it's like, okay, that's what I want to do. So you get back up. But it still may not be clear, particularly if it's a job that you have to look for, if it's financial situations, how do you get out of those quickly? You may not be clear, but you have that willingness to change what it was that you were thinking so it doesn't keep you in that same space, and then to take one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, toward what you say you do want. Good question. Hi, Nicole Cunningham. How are you? Good question. Now, that takes a minute. I'm actually going to be doing a 5-day challenge, and that'll be included in it. How do you change the thoughts or stop them? Here's the thing about the thoughts is that the thoughts that you want to change are unconscious. So it's so hard to change them because you're not aware of them per se. So one of the first things I would say to you, and this is really gems, in my coaching programs, people pay me money. This is what I'm telling them. So don't think I'm just giving you something to give it to you, because this is where I start too. Start by beginning to notice those thoughts. If I asked you right now, you said, how do I change those thoughts? Tell me what one of those thoughts are. See if you can type it in right quick. Do you know it? Can you capture it? Because see, oftentimes with our thinking, we're thinking thoughts and we're not paying attention to what we're thinking. Oftentimes our thoughts are on automatic pilot. They just run. They run like a stream. Literally they do. They just kind of like go around like this, come back again, go around and come back. So how do you stop it? Well, the first thing, you have to see it. You have to know it's there. I'm still waiting for you to give me one thought. What is the most prevalent thought that you have that's going around and around in your mind? So while she's doing that, for everyone else, when you can begin to notice what it is you're thinking, when you can begin to track what you're thinking, and this is the perfect time, unless you're still working as an essential worker, this is the time because we've slowed down. We haven't like slowed down yet, but we've slowed down. My schedule still seems full. When I look at my life now and everything else I used to do, I'm like, how did I even do it all? But it's the same thing with our thoughts. Most of the times we don't know what we're thinking. We're not paying attention to what we're thinking, nor are we paying attention to the impact those thoughts are having on us. So one of the most simplest things is to begin to recognize your thoughts. And then once you recognize your thoughts, you can begin to see, is this a thought I really want to think? And part of the challenge, what's so fun for me is to really look at what you've been thinking and how that shows up in your life and how it impacts your life. I wish I had a magic wand sometimes, but no, I don't. Because this is something that's in your power, to be able to think the thoughts that are going to attract the things into your life that you want. And then when I work with people, I don't train them to not think those thoughts. What we do is focus on something completely different. But the how do you change them? You have to see them. How do you change them? You have to actually pay attention to what it is that those thoughts are. And from there is where we begin to make the shifts. From there is when we begin to look at what they are, the impact they're having, and a variety of different other things. Where does it stem from? No, I didn't ask you hurtful thoughts towards others. What is the thought? What, I want to kill someone, or I want to break somebody's heart? You want to capture what the thought is. And I don't know if you're relating to like the virus situation that's going on now, or if you're talking about something personal in your life. But that's the biggest piece. And if you don't want to say it here, personal message me and then we can talk about it, or maybe you want to come into one of the groups or something. But that's the piece, is what is the thought? What does that thought look like? Where does that thought stem from? And then how much power are you giving that thought? And that goes true for all of you. Because we all have thoughts. What do they say? We have, I don't even know anymore. I was going to say 10,000 thoughts, but I know it's more than that. The one thought that keeps coming to my mind is, I'm 50 and I don't know what to do and I'm afraid. Okay, so you're 50. Congratulations. Amazing. You made it to 50, my dear. You don't know what to do. About what? Or as it relates to what? You don't know what to do about what? Your life, your health, your job, your business, your car, your home, your apartment, your money, your finances. That's a whole lot of questions, right? I'm afraid. Afraid of what? Because see, if this keeps growing around his mind, I'm 50, I don't know what to do, I'm afraid. I'm 50, I don't know what to do, I'm afraid. Well, that's like being on I don't know if I want to say a Ferris wheel or a merry-go-round. Attack those doggone thoughts. You're 50, congratulations. I don't know what. What is it you don't know what to do about? Because if you've been on the planet 50 years, you do know some things. So your mind's already playing a trick on you. And then afraid of what? Everything I just mentioned? Shucks, I don't know what I just mentioned. Okay, so you're afraid of your health, you're afraid of your life, you're afraid of your relationships, you're afraid of your money, you're afraid of, and you don't know what to do with your health, with your money, with your time, with your energy. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So what would happen if you took out a piece of paper? Make those little squares that I often talk about and put all of you, health, relationships, what are the four, money, and your spirituality. Okay, so let's look at one thing you can do and look at it from the end. I love Stephen Covey. Look at it from the end. Think of it with the end in mind. Where do you want to end up? You want to end up in a place of more empowerment where you feel like you do know what to do? Well, let's start by saying, I know what to do, or I'll figure it out, or I'll ask for help. If I don't know, someone else does know. If I don't know, there's someone I can call. If I don't know, there's a question that I can ask someone who can potentially give me the answer. Your not knowing doesn't mean you don't have resources. It doesn't mean that you can't reach out to anyone, someone, me, and say, hey, I don't know what to do about this. Can you tell me? What do I do about my health? You know the basics. You know what you have to eat. You know what you have to drink. You know that you have to exercise. You know you have to get a certain amount of sleep. You know you have to keep away negativity from you. Now the question becomes, do you do those things? And let's focus on what you do need to do and what you can do. So that takes care of your health. When it comes to your relationships, I don't know what to do. You know what to do in your relationships. Look for what you do want in your relationships. Look for what gives you fulfillment, what gives you happiness, what stirs your soul and spirit. Then decide from there what you want to do. Spirituality, religion, you have your religious beliefs or you have your spiritual foundation you're standing on. I don't know what to do. Prayer never hurts. I love being in nature because nature lets me know there's something bigger than any of the circumstances I'm dealing with. That's available to me. There's something that's putting these tangerines. There's something that's making these doggone parrots make a lot of noise and the crows make noise and the flowers blossom. That's something I want to be more aware of. So that's why I'm in nature, because it takes me away from anything small and connects me to something large. So that would be spirituality. You can meditate, you can do tantra dance, you can sit in silence, or you can pray. Now, once you do that prayer, I was walking today for my challenge, and I was praying the results, though. I pray for results. So I was praying that people are empowered, people understand their relationship better with money and with life. I have a solution. So your prayer may be, help me to have the clarity that I know what to do next. Help me to have the understanding that I have the power within me to make the best choices for what's happening in my life. And I'm afraid. Come on now. Surely, black men in America, I understand just a little bit because I know I'm not a black man in America. But I do know one thing about I'm afraid is not going to do anything but attract more for you to be afraid of. So begin to maybe see yourself in this beautiful ray of amazing white light energy that protects you. And then take a piece of paper and write down, what are you afraid of? And if it's the usual, I'm afraid I don't have enough money. I'm afraid I'm not going to have a place to live. I'm afraid my health is going to take me out. I'm afraid I don't know. But there are examples of every fear that we probably have of someone who's overcome it. We have so many, I guess, celebrities now who have made it, who were sleeping in their cars, who, Joe Vitale was about to write a suicide note. We have so many examples of people who've been so deep in fear, so deep in, I don't have anything but the car I'm sleeping in and I'm about to lose that, who've come back from that. So as opposed to I'm afraid, shift that, takes your power away. What if you could say, I'm curious. I'm curious to understand how other people have done this. I'm curious about this. And then let that curiosity take you to reading books or reading stories or listening to people on YouTube who've made it to that other side. I don't have any fear. I have no fear about whatever's happening on this planet. I'm not concerned about the vaccines. I'm not concerned about the chips under the skin. I'm not concerned about any of that. To what end? Fear does nothing but creates this sting inside of me that impacts me. If anything, I want to impact something out there. So I'd rather be mindful instead of afraid. I'd rather be alert instead of afraid. I'd rather be conscious and woke and present in the moment. But write it all down. Write down every single thing you say you're afraid of. And then begin to look at that and dissect it. Is it true? Is it real? Is it happening right now in this moment? And if it's not, then why is it getting your attention? Because right now in this moment, you're breathing your breath, right? Nope, you're not. It's being breathed for you. Right now in this moment, your heart's beating, right? You're not doing that. You have nothing to do with your heart beating. None of us do. So if you focus on those two gifts that we have in every single moment of every day, that's enough to be happy about. That's enough to be in faith about. And that's enough not to be in fear, but to be in gratitude and appreciation. I mean, because no matter what's going on out there, if the universe says, you don't breathe no more, it won't matter. If the universe says, I'm not going to beat your heart, it won't matter what the president or anybody else is doing. Let's get close to that presence that's beating your heart and breathing your breath and let it take care of the rest. Make sense? Okay, so your resilience muscle. That's what this is all about. Your resilience muscle. I don't have any hurtful thoughts toward people. I know people are making their own decisions as best they could. I don't look at the news because I don't want to hear what they have to say because one, it's too confusing, and two, it's too negative. I still hear everything I need to hear just walking up and down the street exercising. People are making the best choices they can make, given that so many people are still operating underneath it all from fear. So being hurtful toward others, to what degree and to what end? How would that lift you up? How would that get you closer to your goal? How would that get you to living the quality of life that you want to live and experiencing the happiness that you want? Let other people do what other people are going to do. Now, hopefully that's not your children. Hopefully that's not your partner, whoever you live with. And if it is, go outside and walk around the block and yell and scream. Go break some dishes somewhere and get that out of you. Vernon said, let me go get some paper and start writing. Yeah, start writing. And then look at it, because we carry so much up in here. This thing right here that's so amazing is also the biggest problem. You know, we walk around, oh, I'm afraid this is going to happen. I'm afraid we're going to die. I'm afraid they're going to put chips in us. I'm afraid this. I'm afraid. Can we flip that to say, I'm enjoyed that I have my breath. I'm enjoyed that I have a roof over my head. I'm enjoyed that I'm not sure what the heck is going on in this world, but I know I will be okay. I will be okay. Claim that for yourself. And claim that for all of us. See, you can think it this way or that way or in the middle and drive yourself crazy. You each have that power. We all have that power. It's a matter of what you choose to do with it. I choose to pivot. I can't look at the man in charge back there and listen to all that stuff he's doing. It just gives me static. So I pivot. I look in a completely different direction for my joy, for my fulfillment, for my happiness, my satisfaction, my peace. What gives you peace? After you get through writing, what gives you peace? Identify those things that give you peace and start doing that. What makes you laugh? I know Cat Williams so much. I just love listening to Cat Williams over and over and all the comedy. Larry the Cable Guy, yes, he's probably a Republican, but I love his comedy. What tickles you? What surprises you? What do you look at? And when you look at it, you're like, wow. Because those are the elements that you want to attract now and harness and grasp to hold on while we're in the boat riding this journey. See, we've been riding a smooth journey. You know, Barack was smooth. We pretty much knew everybody before them. But now we're on a journey. So you want to look for those kind of things. What gives you joy? What fulfills you? What makes you laugh? What makes you peaceful? What makes you feel like, dun, 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 I can do whatever I want to do today or in this moment? Stay in this moment right here, right now. Are you healthy? Do you have food? Do you have water? Do you have laughter? Do you have joy? Can you breathe? Can you think? Can you talk? Can you scream? Then stay in this moment. Because I don't know what's going to happen in the next moment. But right here and right now is where you want to stay, which is another reason why I don't look at TV. And the main reason is because TV is run by 3 or 4 major non-melanated families. And they tell us what they want us to hear. They manipulate us through the commercials and through the panic and through everything. I can manipulate myself on my own. I can scare myself enough. Why need to go to TV for them to scare me? Just give me the broad strokes, okay, what time I have to be in, what time can I go to the store, what time can we do this? Okay, good, I'm good. 5G, yeah, 5G conspiracy, maybe so, but I can't control that. Let me stay right here. I can control. Make sense? But do not have fears and worries and concerns and you don't know what they are. Write them down. Look at them. Dissect them. And at the same time you write down, write on the other side about what you do have, what you can do, what does work, what you have tried. I know it's new. I know some of you 40, 50, 35, 40, this is all new to you. But the planet has been here before. Trust me, America has been here before because this is kind of what America does. And we will be okay. And one thing I do know is when God says it's our time to go, we will go. And until then, nobody's moving us anywhere or sending us anywhere, and we're not going anywhere. There's still only one power and one presence that's breathing your breath and beating my heart, and that's for every 7 billion people on this planet. But you do have to think and pause for a moment. How many people can this planet hold? Really? How many people can this planet hold, nurture, take care of, supply for? Because the planet is who's taking care of us. And how do we take better care of it? Okay, I was just hopping on here for a moment. I want you to know that you have the ability to recover. Vernon, you've recovered before. Nicole, you've recovered before. I cannot believe at this stage of the game you have not had anything that just knocked you off your center and you had to roll over, dust yourself off, and get back up again. So go back and remember you've done this before. You've been here before and you've succeeded. You were triumphant and you will be again now too. Peace and blessings to you. This might be a good time, huh? I'll be back on again tomorrow. Get those muscles going. Resilience, your ability to recover, to bounce back, to stay in the game. Let them know I ain't out the game. I'm in the game. No matter what y'all throw at me, I'm in it. I'm going to manage my thoughts. I'm going to change my thoughts if I have to. Program your thinking to support you, not to sabotage you. And go on and live your life. Peace and blessings. Take good care.